Nubook 1, From Then to Now, Part 13. I rode off and waved to the other Mexican families that were outside doing their duties. As I went along, I considered what had just taken place. I knew that this situation was a rather easy one, because of how these people are. I had already experienced the hard attitudes when I was in the army. The public would be my next test. By the afternoon I was at the coastline and along the shore. My parents gave me an idea of where the De La Cruz family lived, and the little town they lived near. I could see some houses along the shore as I looked north, so I decided to go and see if they knew my friends. It was a very pleasant afternoon by the ocean. The wonderful smell of the sea was great to be with. The waves rolled in with their gentle healing sound as I rode along, and they came washing in. I always loved it here, and I wished my parents lived here also. But they were raised basically where they were at. They liked the more forestry areas with all the different surroundings, because to them it was more private. I was finding out within myself that I liked so many different areas, and that to stay in one place too long was rather hard for me. I would guess that as I got older I would have a different view, but I liked being like the wind, free and adventuresome. As I rode along the shoreline, I considered all the shorelines that there must be. I imagined that it would take me the rest of my life to see all of it that is along the Pacific side. I suddenly realised that it would be fun to travel all the way up the coast at the right time of year, even though I liked the southwest because of the weather. While I was in the army, we took a trip to the Midwest during a bad winter. And was it ever so cold and harsh? I told myself I would never again leave the southwest and head east. Some of the men I met while serving as a scout were from the eastern side of the country. They told me of the winters they lived in. They said the summers were even hard at times, because of the humidity and the heat. The west coast is a great place to be, because most of the year you can sleep outdoors and still be comfortable. The outdoors is my kind of life, listening to nature and experiencing the feeling of being with everything that is so natural and free. It wasn't hard to see the future, even though I'd been shown some of it. Most people would settle for their place, and then live there for the rest of their lives, and working to support their surroundings. Since I met the real guides, I have always been fascinated with how they live and be. I would not suggest my lifestyle to anyone, because it's not that easy, but for me it has to be. Within me it's as though I don't even have a choice. Life keeps drawing me into its unknown reality that I must keep realising. Physically it is hard, but when it comes to the other worlds and what is taking place there, I am more than happy to sacrifice this short lifespan for something that I will always have. As I came upon the people who lived near the shoreline, a Mexican fellow came out of his little house to greet me. "Buenos dias, senor," he said, in his humble and friendly mannerism. I returned the greeting and dismounted my horse to rest my legs and body from the ride. I asked him if he knew the De La Cruz family. He said he did, that they lived about a kilometre up the La Playa, the beach. I thanked him and jumped back on my horse after a little rest and rode north. "Great! We are almost there," said the cat. "Yes, we are," I remarked, as I passed several little shacks that fisherman families lived in, until I came to a rather nice house that was set back upon the bluff and overlooking the sand and sea below. I could see Mary, as she liked to be called, outside, hanging up some clothes. Her husband was Pedro, and he liked to be called Paul. They were both unique, like my parents. That is why we were such good friends. Mary and Paul also knew the real guides, and had a lot of experience with them. I hadn't seen them for a lot of years. My parents and I would visit them from time to time, since I was about 4, and then a few times after. I rode up the bluff, and then Mary noticed me. At first she just looked for a moment, and then realised it was me, and then came over my way at a fast pace. "Goldie, it's you! I was wondering who the handsome stranger is," she said with her sweet and kind voice. I jumped down and we hugged each other, and then Paul came out and said, "I finally caught you with another man, Mary. I will find a new wife in the morning after you fix my breakfast." Then he laughed real loud, as he always does, and came over and we shook hands. "Good to see you, Goldie. We knew you were coming. We saw you on the Inner, riding across the flatlands. Come in and have something to drink, and we will talk about the great coming events you will be doing," he said as I followed him. The cat jumped off the horse and followed us. We walked inside and sat down at their table. "You two have the nicest house around, Paul. This place is like a palace. The inside here is wonderful. You have done very well for yourselves," I said, feeling so glad to see them. "Where are your 2 daughters, Rosa and Sonia?" "Oh, they are like you. They want to see the world and fly from the nest. The life of a fisherman was not for them. They are working in town. One is working at the general store, and the other one is teaching school at the schoolhouse that the townspeople built about 3 years ago," Paul said. "That's what I would like to do, is teach school. It would be a good trade for me to learn while I am writing my book. I can also teach young people about their real experiences. Children are usually having them all the time, whereas the grown-ups have usually become so set in their ways they have a hard time relating to them," I said. "Sonia loves teaching at the school. She has told us that there are a lot of children of different ages, and there are too many of them for her to teach and handle. She has been asking the people who head the school for help, but there is no one who will teach. Perhaps you could get the position you want and help her out," said Paul. I sat back for a moment and thought about it. "That would be great. I will ride into town when I have settled for a while and talk with Sonia. Do the girls ever come back out here and visit?" I asked. About once a month or so, they come by to see us old people," said Mary, laughing as she was telling me. "Come with me, Goldie. Come and see the room that you can stay in while you are here," she said, as we stood up and followed her into the bedroom. "This is the girls' room. You can see that they had a real nice place to stay, and so now you can stay here," said Mary, as she showed me where everything is. "Thank you, Mary. It truly is a beautiful room," I said. I didn't have the heart to tell her that I liked sleeping outside under the sky and the stars. "Let's go get your things and bring them in. I will help you," she said, as she was walking out to my horse. "I don't really have too much, just a few things that I was able to carry," I said. "I'll bet they have to be washed, don't they?" she said, smiling at me and then grabbing what was on the horse. "Oh, I'm sure they're fine, Mary," I said. "Just as I thought. They smell like the trail you came in on," she said, giggling as she took them to where she did her laundry. "I can do that, Mary. I have done it all my life. You have enough to do around here with Paul," I said. "Go and write your book, Goldie boy. You're not going to live forever this time around. You need to finish it so other people in this world know the truth about life. So many of my friends are religious, and they are not interested in the real truth. I have attempted to tell a few who I know about something other than what has been around for so long, but they are all set in their ways because everyone else agrees. It is all none of my concern. I was where they are at one time, but now I see things so much better and freer. It was your parents who taught us so much when they used to come to the ocean. It took a few times for what they were saying to sink in, but after I had a beautiful experience with Reba's Artars, I was so convinced that I immediately stopped going to the gatherings. My friends wondered what was going on, and I did try to explain a little of what I knew, but they were not interested in listening. Maybe we should have kept going and kept up the front with them, but I could sense that there was becoming a difference, and that it was time for us to just let them be. I love and respect my friends, but after Paul and I discussed it, we decided to not go for a while, just to see how we would feel. After a while, we realised we had made the right decision, and that to just live the rest of our lives as we are is okay. It's actually great. It also saves us a trip into town when we don't have to go. We have pretty much everything we need here, and we like our life as it is. In time, a few of our friends started coming around and asking us why we weren't coming to the meetings anymore. We told them we could practice what was being taught within ourselves, without having to go anywhere. We explained to them how it was done, and that what they had read for most of their lives was a hint as to what is needed to understand what life was trying to teach us all. A few of our friends also stopped going to the meetings, and they come over to our house once in a while, when they want to tell us what is taking place with themselves. I find it really amazing that everyone that tries the connection with Reba's Artars finds that it seems to work almost right away. Everyone has their own experience from the great reality, as Reba's Artars calls it, she said. "That's great, Mary," I said, smiling with her. "Mary, you have such a wonderful heart. It is so good to know you and Paul. I can see now that life has brought us all together to share the love and understanding we have all earned. Every time I hear someone's experience, I am elated by the very fact of how ongoing and endless our lives are. I want to hear some of your experiences. What about tonight at dinner?" I asked. "Okay, Indian boy, let me do your clothes while you go and write," she said. "I will write after I take my horse down to the water for a swim," I said, as I walked away laughing and feeling a new life coming on. Mary fed the cat some fish as I went to my horse. I took my horse and went down by the water's edge, as the sun was in the late afternoon sky. The sun in the other worlds was more brilliant than this one here on earth, but the one here is still a beautiful experience to watch. The sound of the surf moving across the water was a real treat for me. To be by the water again and have the sound it makes is a dream come true. The freshness of finally being in this wonderful area was a great feeling for my entire being. I sat and wrote for several hours while the horse played in the water. I was writing about everything that had just happened, until I could no longer make out the words as the sun was disappearing. It was a perfect sunset into the ocean. Then Mary yelled down to me, "We are ready to eat. Come and have your favourite rice and beans, Goldie." I had been so lost in what I was writing that I forgot about the rice and beans she usually cooked. I grabbed the horse and rode up the bluff and went inside. "I can smell those great beans cooking, Mary," I said as I came up to her. Their house was lit with several lanterns that created a nice effect at night with plenty of light to see. "Sit down and let's eat," said Mary, smiling as she served the rice and beans and her homemade bread. "This looks great. I'm starving. I'll probably eat all that you have," I said. "Well, there will be real thunder in the house tonight, Mary," said Paul, as we laughed. After we started eating, I asked Mary and Paul about their inner life, and if they had anything they could share for my book. "We have a lot to tell you," said Mary. "I also keep a record of some of the dream experiences I have had. Also with Rebazar. I write Paul's down too, if I think they are any good." Then she laughed, and so did Paul and I. "Here is one that I had not too long ago. You were in it, Goldie, with us. We were all at La Playa and pushing Paul's boat out into the water. The idea was we were going to go fishing. We went out a ways, and then all of us put our lines in the water. You, Goldie, kept bringing up fish after fish. Paul and I were amazed at how many fish you were catching. I think Paul and I caught one fish each. After a while the boat was full of fish, hundreds of them, and then we went back to shore. As soon as we took the fish out of the boat, they turned into children that stood there and were waiting to be instructed. Then I woke up. What do you think, Goldie?" asked Mary as she smiled. "It's quite obvious the fish in this experience represented the people that I will be meeting and possibly teaching. They will still be young but willing to learn," I said, smiling with them. "I have had many dreams that are similar to the one where we are fishing, and also seeing you as you are writing your books," said Mary. "I have had some with Rebazar lately, where he was telling me about you coming to see us, and that you would be staying for a while." "I will be here for a while. Is that all right with you?" I asked them. "You can stay as long as you like, Goldie. We are glad to have you here as our friend," said Paul. "Thank you so much. I will be writing for a while, and I will be glad to help you out around here. Then when I feel I am ready, I will go and see if I can find a teaching job of some kind," I said. "For now, all you have to do is eat and write," said Mary as she hugged me. All of us talked for the longest time, and finally finished everything she had cooked. I had stuffed myself, because the entire meal was so great. "That was a great dinner, Mary. I'll help you clean up if you like," I asked. "I can do it. Why don't you go and have fun writing your book?" she said, and began cleaning up. I went to my new room and sat on the bed and thought over what I was going to write next. All the years of being trained by the real guides was coming through to me in my writings. The world seemed to be behind the times when it came to the main part of life. Most people just lived this life, and that was it, never exploring the hidden secrets of themselves. I wanted to finish my book and see if I could get it published. Then I would have something to show people. After writing for a while, I was rather tired, so I went to sleep, and to the inner shoreline. Rebazartars was there to meet me. "Hello, Goldie! How's the book coming?" he said, with a big smile on his face. "I have plenty to write about, sir," I said. "When I get it published, the world will have a better idea of what else life has to offer. Everything will take place according to the events that follow each other. There will be people all over who will be ready to take a look at what you will be presenting. We will let you know where to go and who to see. What you are doing this lifetime is planting the seeds that will show up later, even after this life is over, for a lot of those you come in contact with. The controlling systems have created a huge misconception with the idea that if you join them, you will instantly be saved from everything and rest eternally in their heaven. It is impossible to attain a great awareness through a water dousing or any other ritual that has been invented to fool the physical brain into a belief of something that sounds good. You have the willingness to be prepared for the impossible, while the rest of the human race is depending upon the ruling systems to take care of them. Continually consider the great reality, and eventually everything will become clear to you. I will see you soon," said Rebazartars. Rebazartars walked down the shoreline as I stood there and watched him go. As usual, he vanished into thin air. I could sense the long journey that I would be taking, and all the places I would be going. I knew that I was going to have to be creative, because of what I was presenting. All the years of training became like a story to me. It was my life that I was living, and at the same time I was being shown the real side of what has no boundaries. I was okay with everything within myself. I really didn't have a plan, but I knew that things would go as they should. I could see, after all the years of being with Rebazartars and the real guides, that they never really had a plan either. They lived each moment, and were directed by the true reality, as it became realized in them. Their lives are simple, yet what they know is so much more than what can be seen on the surface or even explained in words.